Hello, hello, hello. Hi, I'm just here. I am just waiting for people to show up. I have this headset on, but I want to switch it out simply because I don't want to see these on my ears, and I only have them on as a backup plan. Hey, everyone. I'm going to switch over to comments. Let's see what comments are coming in. Hey, hiya. Welcome back. Thank you very much. Hi, Jen. Hi, Georgia. I'm just going to switch out. I'm assuming you can hear me, so just say yes if you can hear me, but I'm about to switch out these headphones. Because I was, for some reason, the sound was glitching out, so I decided to start like a few minutes late because I was trying to fix the sound. And I'm just hoping that you guys can hear me now. So can you please, yes, you're saying yes. Okay, so I'm going to put on these other headsets so we can get going and get started about these cool things that I discovered while I was in Costa Rica, living very much in the moment. So I've been, I did like 3 years of yoga training. I mean, 1 year intensive, and then like another 2 years of really kind of living into the yoga studies and meditation, another year of meditation training, and taught some meditation for a bit. This was 13 years ago, and taught meditation. And, very often I try and put into practice what it is that I used to teach anyway. And now I kind of teach it as part of like mindfulness for self empowerment, personal empowerment, and overcoming limiting beliefs. Mindfulness is, I think, the most powerful way. I think scientifically they say that I think it's cognitive behavioral, CBT, DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. It's hard to say it, and cognitive behavioral therapy are the best ways to overcome depression, anxiety, limiting beliefs. So that's like a major part. Mindfulness is a major part of how I help people. And I spent 2 weeks in Costa Rica where all of the like Airbnbs where I stayed in Costa Rica were all pre-planned, prepaid for. And I didn't really have to do very much of thinking about too much stuff while I was there. I could just pretty much go with the flow and really be in the moment. And some really amazing things came of that, actually. So I'm just making sure that I have the live stream up on my screen in case people... there's Jennifer Goldup saying that she is this week? Nebraska? No, that was last week. So I just want to make sure I have the video up so I can get any messages that come in. So bear with me just 2 more seconds. Throw that on the screen. I don't like to get too far into it and then people show up and I start repeating myself. Okay, says I'm live. Says I plan to go live. Where do I find out that I am live on Facebook? Obviously you guys are watching me in Facebook right now because that's where your comments are coming from, but I can't see them in Facebook. Oh, you're in Nebraska. That's what I thought. It said that like last week, unless you put that on last week's video today. There it is. All right, great. Live. Cool. All right. Cool. Beautiful. So, all right, let's get going. And people will just join in, and nobody watches the replays. I mean, people say that they start listening to these replays, but if you're not here, I've learned that if you're not really here in the moment watching it live, like literally literally no one goes back and watches replays. So what does that mean? Yes. Made boo. Might want to edit that for me so I can understand that. Okay, so let's get going. So for 2 weeks in Costa Rica, I had pretty much everything planned and I could genuinely live in the moment. And life in Costa Rica is very different than life in Canada, predominantly because the weather doesn't really change very much. Yeah, there's seasons, but at least for the general weather, because it's close to the equator, is pretty much the same day or night, depending on which region that you're in. And so if you're like, the west side of Costa Rica is the Pacific Ocean and the east side is the Atlantic Ocean. And so within one day, I was actually on both oceans, because you can get from one to the other in like, I don't know, 7 hours or something, 6 hours. And which is pretty awesome. That's a pretty rare thing. I don't know very many places actually where you can go from like a Caribbean ocean to like a totally different ocean, different color, different animals, different everything. So it's pretty awesome to have that experience. That was a major takeaway. But here's the whole point of what we're talking about today: living in the moment. So this living in the moment was really only possible for me because the weather is very similar. Like I said, so if you're in one region, let's say on the East Coast, which is Atlantic Ocean, and the weather was very hot there, very Caribbean, it only rained at night. So it was sunny every morning without fail, and it rained every night without fail. It was very predictable. And when things are very predictable, our body tends to relax into the norm, into the predictable, and we tend to relax. Our minds relax, our bodies relax. And if there's not really a lot, that can be very unplanned. And that was part of what lent to the whole, it wasn't really planned that I was going to live in the moment. It just kind of came out of this very consistent and predictable weather, temperature. It's mostly warm. You don't need a huge variety of clothing. Like I brought like one pair of pants for 2 weeks. And so in that way, there is something in the consistency that I think just kind of brought on part of me living in the moment. Another thing that really brought it on was that I made zero plans of what to do while in each of the regions. The whole point was to just get to the region and figure it out when I got there. So the biggest plan really was to very much just tune into the region that I got to, find the local supermarkets where I can just buy local food. Every place that my partner Michelle booked for us had a kitchen, had an air conditioner, so we could cook and really kind of live there. And that really lent into part of living in the moment. So consistent weather, very predictable, consistent temperature, easy access to food, water, and shelter, all led into the ability to live in the moment for this extended period of time. So I think it's very important to note that life in general can be difficult to live truly, purely in the moment, because there's a lot of planning that's needed. Whereas like I was like basically living on a beach every day if I felt like it. And if I didn't feel like it, it was easy enough to rent an electric scooter and just go driving down the road and figure it out. So access to resources is the number one way to ensure that you can practice living in the moment. And I want to make sure that I'm putting that out there, that this was a rare occurrence for me, that I could genuinely live in the moment, which is why I don't do it every single day, every single moment. So this 2-week period was a unique opportunity to genuinely practice having no plans, trusting that the weather was just going to be the same. I didn't have to watch the weather report. I didn't have to worry about what I was going to wear or not wear. I literally just traveled everywhere with a small pop-up umbrella, which I used for both the rain and the sun. So I didn't have to worry about bringing sunblock, whatever. I could just genuinely live in the moment. 1 bottle of water, 1 liter bottle of water, or 2 liter, one 2 liter bottle of water, 1 umbrella, waterproof shoes, pretty much all you need. You can get anywhere and do anything and truly live in the moment. And of course, cash. Okay. With that said, let's move into what it was that I learned really from genuinely practicing for the first time in 13 years, genuinely being able to live entirely in the moment because of these resources and consistency and safety, just general safety there. So big thing about Costa Rica, I mean, everybody says it is pura vida, which means pure life, literal translation, pure life. And what does it really mean? So many people just say pura vida, pura vida. Everywhere you go, hey, how are you? Buenos dias and pura vida. And I didn't really know what that meant in the first week out of the 2 weeks. But what I discovered over the 2 weeks was that pura vida really genuinely means really living into the moment, genuinely just enjoying life and connecting into the natural flow of life, that everything generally works out. This is what pura vida means. And this became the anchor. What was the most surprising to me was what I learned about this saying, what pure life, which I mean, it doesn't really, that's kind of a strange translation to say pure life, but what it means is pure flow, pure connection, pure genuine living in tune with nature and with life. And that was the big takeaway, just to give you the big lesson for me. But let's talk about some of the details of what I genuinely learned from living in the moment, which is this pura vida. In every moment, everything just in the stillness of staring at waves, literally just, I think I got a picture. Let's see. Maybe I can show you a picture of this. So this is kind of, yeah, there it is. Let's hide the banner for a second. So I stared at, this is a photo that I took of probably, what's it called? This is the Atlantic coast. This is, geez, I can't remember the name of it now. Anyway, so because all the names are all with like Puerto Viejo. So this must be Puerto Viejo. So this is every morning the sky is blue and every night the sky's gray and raining. And this I can see is probably a mixture of the gold sand and the black sand. And in that region, there is black sand. So it's called Playa Negra. So this is my black shorts with my black shoes, which look gray because of the sun. And this is the black sand, which again looks gray because of the sun, but everything in this photo is black. And that's, so you can see how dark the sand is. This is volcano. This is basically very rich stones, if you will, ground down by the ocean. It basically comes from the volcano there. And what I did was I just sat and stared. There's a wave, and this is no wave. Oh, this is kind of partly wave and no wave. And I just sat for whatever, hour at a moment, just literally staring on the horizon and trying not to move my eyes. You can see how black the sand is at the bottom of the photo and how kind of more golden it is at the top. And you can see where the waves kind of end in the middle of the photo. So this is the height of the waves, not very tall and mostly flat out into the ocean. And I'm staring at this, genuinely trying to just be purely mindless and just in the moment. So when this is literally me looking down the ocean on the beach. And if I just turn my head and stare straight at those waves that you can see on the right, it looks like this. So it's so funny how you go shopping for where do you want to go in the world, and you're like, oh, the blue water and the perfect sand, and then when you're there, it literally is just like green to be more accurate. It's like kind of a turquoisey green. So just know that you're always being fooled by the photos. These are literally beside each other at the same time on the same day. Just the angle changes the color. So there I was staring at these waves, really starting to live purely in the moment and allowing for the waves and the sound of that natural environment And the freedom that I had to be able to just sit and stare at this, of course, let's be honest here, that was a privilege that I had, that I could just sit and stare at this and genuinely be safe, genuinely be protected. This was that would have been Puerto Viejo, Playa Negra. That was like basically a private beach. I was one of 3 people as far as the eye could see in every direction, so it was pretty safe. And this understanding that I had the freedom to just stare at the water, and what came of it was this, among other things, just like where it started. Everything that I was looking at became an object. The waves became an object. I became an object. And I initially realized that the sun, the air, like every bird that moved, everything in that moment was part of life expressing itself. And that every object was in its own place, living in its own moment. So as much as I perceive the waves as moving or shifting, there was no intention. There was no plan or thought. It was just happening. This is the core understanding of what pura vida is. There was no effort that was needed to place those things there. They just perfectly aligned in perfect alignment. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It was just, it aligned in alignment. It's a bit of a paradox, because there's no real planning. It's just aligning with aligning with aligning. It's just a flow of life. So very first and foremost, in acknowledging that everything was just flowing naturally with life and with nature, it then reflected that back at me, that I was one of those things. In that moment of just witnessing nature, I became one of the things that was being witnessed. The ocean was witnessing me. The birds were witnessing me. Just be there, connecting with pura vida, just the moment. And pura vida, again, really is living genuinely into the presence of just non-judgment, just witness, just being, just seeing stuff go by and hearing another wave show up, and not really thinking any more about it than the waves are thinking about it. Just becoming one of the objects that's there. Clock and time completely became irrelevant. I was at a 2 hour, 2 hours behind Toronto. So, like right now it's 6:53 p.m. real time in Toronto. And so 6:53 would have been 4, just minus 2 hours, 4:53. So almost 5 o'clock. When the sun is setting in Toronto, the sun is in the sky. No, wait a minute. That's not true. The sun actually sets. This is the crazy thing. There's a 2 hour time. This is what's okay. So this is the important point about this. There is a 2 hour time difference. So the sun in Toronto today, this is a live stream. The sun is setting at, let's say, 8:30 here. It sets at the same time, 8:30, but the clock is 2 hours back, which means it's 6:30 setting in Costa Rica. So by the time it's dark here at 9, it's dark there-ish at 7, give or take a half hour, okay? That was the first thing that I really genuinely connected with after understanding that I was just an object of nature, just sitting and going with the flow of life. Then I noticed that time didn't make sense to me. The clock was irrelevant, and all of my actions or reactions at a chemical level, at a physical level, revolved around the sun and around the actions of nature. I became way more involved, how do I say, or affected by, like, it literally was sunny every morning and rained every night. I then became attuned to that as just part of the natural flow of that part of Costa Rica. It's not the same in every part. I became very much attuned that the waves, the tide, would go out at night, be out in the morning, come back in the afternoon, be in all day, go back out at night. As part of nature, I started to become aware of what time the birds are all up at 4:30 a.m. It doesn't matter. Like, it's irrelevant what the clock says to the birds. What matters is, when is the sun rising? What do we need to do now that the sun is rising? The same thing with the water. The moon is going down, the sun is coming up, the entire ocean changes shape. Holy crap, that's incredible. That was not relevant to the clock. That was relevant to just the movement of astral bodies in nature, totally acting and reacting entirely in the moment, without thought, without judgment, without choice, if you will. It was just pura vida, living in the moment. Because time didn't matter, perception of time completely stretched. So one day, one like daytime, the sun being up, which is, I don't know, give or take like 16 hours or 18 hours, it felt so long. Like the morning, by the afternoon, the morning felt like it was yesterday. By the night, the evening, the morning felt like it was 2 days ago. By the time I went to sleep and woke up and I tried to remember the previous day, it was like 3 days ago. It was incredible. And every day was the same thing. And after, a few days trying to remember what happened on day one, in living purely in the moment and not registering time, but just living in the moment of things rising and falling and going out and coming back in, when I tried to relate the passage of water and rain and birds into a time period, it just didn't make sense anymore. It was completely irrelevant. It just, everything was way, way, way longer. So that was something important that I took away from that, because it started to make me realize how much thought we put in a city like Toronto, in a normal work day, like as a 9-to-5 worker, that it just, how much of our mind is being, we're choosing to focus it on trying to register time, money, quantity. And when you're living in the moment, there is no quantifying of that. I mean, even the fact that our bodies start to become programmed to a clock, that we need to eat breakfast before work, that we need to eat lunch because it's a lunch break. Like in pure life, in pura vida, you eat when you're hungry, or you eat because food is available. It's very much more in the flow. And there is something that I used to think was very important about creating habit. And I teach that as part of it. It is taught as part of mindfulness and managing, like basically comfort in a body, is giving it predictable timelines and schedules. Creating goals, achieving a goal, or even just like going to bed at the same time every day and waking up at the same time every day, creates a sense of normalcy to the nervous system and is actually genuinely calming. But we're creating that time based on a clock. Whereas in like Pura Vidaville, Costa Rica, you're not creating that time. That time is being created. It's already created by the flow of nature. Hunger comes when nature is eating. Sleep time comes when nature is sleeping. It's kind of an interesting thing. Keeping in mind that we're not nocturnal. Obviously, we're sleeping when the sun goes down because we're not nocturnal. But you know what I'm talking about. So in this presence, I became very attuned with nature and realized that I put a lot of thought around thinking I should eat by a certain time, that I should eat a certain amount of calories, or not eat a certain amount of calories. Like, none of this stuff mattered anymore. It just didn't matter anymore. I became attuned with nature. My need for food diminished. My need for sleep totally changed. My depth of sleep, my depth of calm, everything completely shifted once I attuned to nature. And in that presence with nature, understanding that I am also part of it, in flow with that, what ended up happening was that my mind and my energy field just completely expanded in the way that I extended out from just my sense of my clock, my watch, my fridge, my bedtime. Like that's all very, very close to us. It's right where we are. But in Costa Rica, in attuning to nature over here, from being present, the expansion to what is the ocean doing? What are the stars doing? What is the energy of the astral bodies, celestial bodies? What is the energy of the entire coastline? The tens of thousands of animals, like the amount of expansion was absolutely incredible. That was also something that was very surprising and shocking to me. A big thing that really added to that, being inside makes me contract into my body and mind, and things aren't always clear and aligned in my mind. There's a lot of rhyming going on there. It showed me how small and harmful being inside is. So in Costa Rica, the locals are called tica, okay? And a tico house or a tico casa or casita is they're built in tune with their local nature. And most of the places, if they're genuine tico houses and not in cities, they don't have walls. There's just literal roof, pillars, dirt, stones on the ground. It's like the ground, pillars, some kind of floor that creates a second floor, and that floor creates the roof for the openness that's on the main floor. There's a set of stairs that goes up, and then the second floor is got like bamboo walls and just like basically open windows. There's no screens, there's no mesh, there's no curtains, there's no walls. Like air just flows right through that place. Bugs, birds, you name it, they're just as much at home inside the house as they are outside the house. It all just becomes like I mean, the place is literally made out of the nature that is found right there in the nature that's like right there. It's basically living. It's kind of like you're out of nature because you're inside, but you made it out of nature and the walls are all open. So you're kind of in nature and not in nature at the same time. Is a bit of a weird feeling, gonna be honest with you. That was different for me. But the weather is like basically the same temperature day and night. I mean, it's like 22 degrees, 24 degrees Celsius at night and like 28 degrees Celsius during the day in the Caribbean side. It's a little bit cooler on the other side, but not by much. And then in the mountains, it's totally different. It's all just much, much colder. But same thing. Still, the houses are just open. So that really expanded me with this point I was making that like even the homes are made out of nature and wide open to nature. And it's just a normal thing to see like just geckos running over the wall and like a variety of maybe 6 different bugs in your shower. And it's like, who cares? If you're okay with standing outside and just taking a shower, literally out of like a shower hose just hanging off a tree, what's the difference if you're doing that outside or if that has a house built around it and you're standing inside? Bugs are the same bugs. So that was something that was very different. And I thought that would be kind of like constricting or feeling unsafe. But no, in that particular region, it was the opposite. I mean, I didn't see any scorpions, poisonous snakes. Mosquitoes weren't even really a problem for me at all compared to Canada. Horrible in Canada. It was not an issue for me there. It was easy to just kind of live outside. It was warm, it was safe, and we were fine. So that really showed me how harmful it is being inside. I'm just looking at my notes here. And that said, being indoors affected me even more negatively. When I went into a fully closed Airbnb with an air conditioner, it was relaxing in the way that I didn't really have to worry too much about bugs or whatever, things changing. But at the same time, it actually made me feel very disconnected from nature. Excuse me for a second. My eyes. But it showed me that when I'm inside a closed, small space, my attention moved from nature to being more in my head. And it showed me that when I was inside, I was being affected by my thoughts, and it really showed me just how much my thoughts are very disruptive. Like disruptive in the way that they're unproductive. Like they're most of the time not really even useful. I gotta be honest with you. I learned very much. That was very surprising to me, how many of my thoughts were a waste of time. And I didn't really notice that until I spent so much time outside that I wasn't really thinking about anything, because it was just like totally pura vidaville, just like totally pura vida, like connecting with nature, flowing. Again, I had that permission and that privilege to do that. But so did the Ticos. I mean, like really the average person that was living there was doing the same thing as me. And that really added into it too, that was just the vibe. It was like pura vida country. And as long as you're outside of a major city, it's very important. If you're living how the Ticos did, if you're in a city, this was not the way. It just was basically Toronto. The thoughts were, my thoughts were disruptive, not always present. That's another thing. I noticed how much of my thoughts weren't really about the current moment. And that was disruptive as well, that and unproductive. I mean, let's use other words. It just was like, it was disruptive in the way that they were really just useless. And really connecting into the moment was very productive, very useful. And I'll explain that further. The answer when indoors, by the way, big takeaway here is movement. Okay. As I say there, if my mind starts to get busy, all of us, this generally applies to most humans, by the way, not all of them, but most humans, when their mind gets too busy, walking, connecting with nature, looking at a sky, and not everyone has the freedom to look at a sky. Shockingly, it's true, especially where I live, which is just like literally just buildings in every direction, so that you can't even see the sky in some cases. But like, since there's so much keeping the mind internal, movement. So literally go fuller with your mind internally, but move the mind towards becoming aware of sensations in the body and moving the body. And that helps to actually spread the thoughts away from the mind and become present to what's happening in the body. And generally speaking, the energy will expand, internal expansion. Whereas what I was practicing for 2 weeks, which I've never done before, is full external expansion. Just make some clear notes there. I'm just checking in. Hey, Lydia, nice to see you. Lydia's just popping in. So moving on. So being outside put my attention on things outside of me, which felt spacious. So because I was able to see the sky and water and trees and like literal like macaw, like those big like colorful parrots that are very famous, lots of rainbow colors, literally just flying over my head, wild at large. They're eating mangoes and chucking them at me. Like, just like, you watch out for coconuts and mangoes. If you wear a hard hat, if monkeys and macaws are going to like knock you out. So, but it really showed me that the amount of time that my thoughts are in my head while I'm in a small space, and then also noticing how many of the thoughts were really just disruptive or unuseful, it showed me how spacious connecting to things way, 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 way far outside of my body created a sense of openness in my mind, which actually made the things I had to think about much easier. Just, they felt like less pressure, less stress. My thoughts felt like it was, I had more, I don't know how to explain it, but like, it felt like there was more space around each thought, just because my body was so attuned to everything in nature having so much space that my brain made an association to that, applied it as a projection to my own thoughts. It's just throwing out a bunch of psychotherapy terms, psychology terms. And then inside my body, I started to relate to things in my body as being very spacious because I was living this spaciousness. That was a pretty major takeaway, and something also I was very surprised about. I had time space and physical space, which cleared my head. This was only possible because I didn't have a deadline or resource pressure, as I said at the beginning. I wasn't worried about where my food was going to come from. I didn't have to be anywhere. And I had full ability to work whenever I wanted to, because I can do all of my work off of this cell phone, typing, creating websites, connecting with clients. I can do it all with this. So I was able to do that. So because I had no pressures, I was able to do this practice of being in the moment. And then when something did come up where I did have to, because I was still doing this live while I was in Costa Rica, it was just felt really relaxed. It just was something in my body that felt like it was more spacious and easier to deal with. And it didn't feel like tension or pressure. And it showed me, this whole practice showed me how much tension and pressure happens in my thoughts purely because I live in a box. This box right there, that box. And sure, I decorated it, but it's still a box, and it's small and it's square and it definitely doesn't move. There isn't really a lot of flowing with this. And in the body, it starts to project rigidity. So this is the importance of just spending as much time as possible outside or looking outside. Okay. Major takeaway. As I stared at stuff like the ocean, eventually everything kind of became boring and I needed to travel around and experience new locations. But it showed me that my environment was very powerful at how it affected me. Okay. This is a little bit different than what I just finished saying about small space makes contraction and makes the thoughts feel contracted versus always basically being outside and how that expands the thoughts. So this is a little bit different. Which place I was in, even if I was entirely outside in nature, eventually my mind kind of drew enough out of that scene or scenario that it just felt this sense of needing to move on. In the same way that the monkeys would eventually just like go to a different place and the birds would eventually just, for whatever reason, change a tree. I felt the same thing was happening, that there was something that I was just getting out of the energy of the place, that when I felt full, I just felt like moving. There was no real reason or thought to it, but it was this same sense of purely living in the present moment and just reacting to what my body wanted, just like every other natural object that was there. I became much more aware of which places were healing. There's a mountain there called Chiripo, or Chiripo in English. And I could have stayed there for a really long time. There's something about they actually bottle the water from Chiripo and sell it in the stores. So the water around that place was just literally crystal clear. Like I was sitting in a river filled with spring water. It was an incredible feeling. And the stones were very round, but very large. It was like river stones that we normally see in Canada that are like this small, but they were boulders. Like you could literally put like 4 or 5 people on them, but they were the same shape and look as what a river stone is here, just huge. That was different. And I really liked it. And I liked the cooler weather, but there was something about the energy there that I could have stayed longer in places like Dominical, any of the ocean coasts where there was like, sand and waves. It's hot. It's always hot there. And it was just so humid that I couldn't really feel like I could stay in the present moment. Just my body felt like it needed to move, and that just had to happen because I didn't really I tried to overcome it. I actually tried to place my thoughts in a place where I tried to override the heat, and I couldn't simultaneously override the effect of the heat using my brain and live in the moment. And how many times do we do that, eh? A workplace that we just keep telling ourselves we got to get through the day, or when we're hanging out with people that we don't really want to hang out with, and we're just talking our way out of just getting up and leaving. How many times do we just get up and leave if we were truly living in the moment? Just want to share that from Jen, our weekly long haul trucker, as I say, who's in, I believe, Nebraska this week. I feel better in a truck moving. My anxiety eases. An interesting thing, just side note, Jen, by the way, the reason why, give me a second. So the point here being that the environment is greater than the will. I didn't come up with that sentence. I was taught that like 14 years ago. And boy, is it true. Your environment is greater than your willpower to overcome the harm or discomfort of a location. If you have the freedom to live in the flow like I did for 2 weeks, you just up and leave. And that was a major, I don't get to do that every day. That was a major takeaway. If you ever get to experience that, move freely. Let yourself be affected by the environment and find a place where the environment is genuinely healing you. And then you can just chill and be there in the moment. Like I was sitting in a mountain spring water river, and I could have just that was heaven. I could have just stayed there forever. I literally felt like I was eating nutrients out of the water, which they've proven is actually possible. And my feet were literally like absorbing nutrients out of the earth there. Like I was literally eating the air. Like I can't exaggerate this enough. They've proven that this is actually possible. And I felt like I was being genuinely nourished from the nutrition, actual like vitamins in the water, the land, and the air. It was incredible experience. I could have stayed there for a while. Let the environment be greater than your will. Just be very mindful of going to good environments as often as you can, like a forest, like a park, like a waterside, like a sunrise. Okay. So Jen, interesting thing. The reason why walking has such a major impact, especially through trees. Okay. There's a little science bit for you. If you walk through trees and they do this beside your head, okay, and there's a variety of trees, so you cannot create a pattern. There's an infinite number of fractal patterns that are happening, and there is no repetition. So as you walk through the trees, or if you're in a truck and you're driving along, which no two moments are exactly the same, as it literally passes by your peripheral vision, it taps on your subconscious mind in a left-right brain pattern. And as you drive, or as we walk through a forest where there's no repetition, and we've never been able to like we haven't seen it before because trees are different every day. This genuinely new and genuinely infinite movement past the peripheral vision creates a relaxed state on the nervous system. And it's actually a way of reprogramming your mind. So if you have a thought that you want to let go of, I'm not good enough, I'll never succeed at this, nobody likes me, whatever those thoughts are, if you decide to go for a walk or a drive and shake it off and say, no, that's not true, I genuinely am a good person. Go for a walk or a drive and think these positive things and be in the moment. Let this happen. Let that just pass by you while you're saying positive things, just staring at the road or staring at your walking path, and just, I got a good life. Good things come to me. I'm blessed. I'm surrounded by amazing people, and just let that pass by you as you walk. And even like literally, even the fact that I'm doing this is enough to actually rewire your brain in a positive way. So yay, science. It's pretty awesome. So that's part of the reason why you driving in a truck is so relaxing to you. All right, cool. Thanks for mentioning that. Moving on. Because the environment is greater than the will, I didn't expect for this. Wow, we're really going to go all the way up today. All right. The environment is greater than the will applies to a micro scale. That means changing from one Toronto street. I'm in Toronto, so I'm just going to say it like this, but it's very true in Toronto. For anybody that lives in Toronto, this is super true. I can go from one street to, no exaggeration, the very next street. I can go from even smaller around the corner of a building, and I can go from one entire scene, turn the corner, and there's a completely different scene around the corner, different vibe, different people, completely different scene, just from changing a corner. Wildly different. I mean, like elegant upscale dining on an outdoor patio with candlelight and like live jazz music playing. Turn the corner, protest with like 500 people with like blaring, like just run, like stomping and right around the corner from each other. That's how crazy a micro scale can be in Toronto. That said, it's a good thing to be able to make use of that point, because you could be in your office or in your home and you could be like super stressed or feeling like you can't get out of your head or whatever. And I, like, in my coaching sessions, I actually say to people, just go stand in the bathroom. Find a closet if you have to. Change which wall you're looking at. The tiniest thing, like literally just changing the direction you're facing in a room, because we are magnetically aware, and literally just changing direction actually changes the way your thoughts work, can be enough to break a cycling thought. And these little micro environments might actually be enough to break you out of a thought pattern or an emotion or a tension that you're in. Okay. So that's another takeaway from pura vida, living in the moment and allowing myself to move around and realizing how much of an effect that has on my body, because I wasn't stuck in any one place. Okay. Oops, I lost my banners. Let's put them back. This also applies to changing people that you're talking to. If you're in a party or in a group or at work and you're having conversation, you start to feel any kind of tension or your thoughts starting to cycle or something unproductive productive is happening, or if you're blank or you're just not feeling creative, literally just change the people that you're talking to, change the direction that you're facing, or even just move chairs. It's crazy how much this can actually matter. Even changing the shirt that you're wearing, the color, moving the buttons around, like, no exaggeration. Just if I button that up, I will actually think differently. It's the way that it works on our nervous system and our tactile senses, and how it works on our energy centers. Okay. So when you're, changing position, like if you have the freedom to work out of a cafe or have a phone call while you're walking instead of while you're sitting, all these things will have an effect on you. Even the chair I was in could make or break me. Yeah. I could be completely in the moment, totally flowing, and then change a chair and being like, I can't think. I'm irritable, just literally because the shape of the chair wasn't perfect. I mean, that can be a very limiting thing, but it can also be used as a very empowering point if you know that you have that. I've instructed clients to literally travel with their own chair. I've witnessed it happen where people were actually traveling with their own chair, like all around Costa Rica. Real thing. Just backpack in a chair. So everywhere they went, they had the same chair to sit on. I've done that. I've practiced that. It works. People were part of the environment. So, of course, I made a mental note of what was the vibe of the region. Since the environment is greater than the will, first and foremost, there was a certain kind of people in a certain kind of bar. There's a certain kind of people in a mountain or on the beach. Definitely a very different kind of person at 5 a.m. than at 10 a.m., than at 1 p.m., than at 2 a.m. Totally different crowds of people. They don't even see each other. They'll never interact with each other. These kinds of things, if you get to know that about yourself and how your environment and the people that are in it affect you, where do you put yourself where you become the most clear-minded, the most creative, the most at peace? So I see a comment come in. James, it's public comment, so I'm going to show that. James, hey, nice. Thanks a lot for showing up, James. Really great to have you. Had some anxiety the other day and it improved massively when I changed my socks that were too tight. That's a thing. That's actually what I was just saying about if I do the top button, it actually changes my nervous system. Socks, pants, that can actually even change if you're wearing a shirt with vertical stripes, like black, white, or some kind of high contrast, versus horizontal stripes versus a solid color. I just don't wear stripes. I always wear solid colors. That's a thing for me. I say that as I lift my collar and realize they're very tiny stripes. I actually kind of like that little bit of vibe in there. I do kind of feel that. But every little thing matters. Oh, look at that. Last point. I also became much more aware of the effects of food on my body and my energy levels, the food on my body and it. So like my physical energy, but also on my like mental and my mood energy. When I say energy levels, my mood, I didn't really notice that so much here when I'm really just kind of sitting in the box and staring at one thing. And there's my box and in the box, there's a box in the box, in a box, there's a box. Okay. So this kind of like, there's a box there out there is my house box. This is my talking to you box. And then there's even like me looking at there's a box that I see in there. And it's like things here seem to want to push our attention into smaller and smaller and smaller places, you know? And that was a major surprise to me, how much of I just didn't realize how much this kind of narrowing of our focus makes me very unaware of the effects of the food that I'm eating, very unaware of how little the negative effects of not moving enough, how much I'm affected by not being outside enough, because everything's trying to squeeze our focus into smaller places. We think we're tuning out the effects of our environment and our food and the people around it, but no. Subconsciously, we are registering all of that, and it all adds into our anxiety, our nervousness. And I'm telling you, the answer is movement outdoors. Massive. So I can't remember the name of the guy, but there is a person, a quick Google, I'm sure would find this, but somebody studied the effect of having things close to our eyes. And by nature, we actually, as humans, must look at things that are on the horizon. We have to look at things that are far away. Clouds are too close. They literally have to be like the horizon on water. Okay. If you look at that mountain on the left is not far enough. This is a real thing. A guy studied this. It has to be the edge. Let me get a flat one here. The edge of the water where it touches the sky there, kind of makes like a dark gray line. To stare at that was epically difficult. I gotta say that was the greatest meditation challenge I have ever experienced. And I kid you not, I did not succeed. I considered it to be an utter failure. I could not stay focused on that edge. I kept breaking my focus and looking at, where are you? These waves. Okay. And I tried to look at that straight, perfectly straight line. You know, it's not perfectly straight, but that's perfectly straight line touching the sky. And I tried to not break my attention to look at the waves. And this was my meditation practice of being genuinely in the moment. And this guy studied what happens to our brains and our eyes based on looking at things that are 2 feet, 5 feet, 15 feet, 50 feet, and infinite, what they call infinite focus. And he discovered that if in order to have a healthy brain and healthy thoughts and a healthy way of thinking and processing information, we have to actually spend, I can't remember the exact number, Google it if you want, but it's a certain number of minutes every day or every like hour. I think it was like every hour, don't quote me, but it's something like every half hour, every hour, we're supposed to spend a few minutes looking at something that's at infinite focus, like a horizon line or something that's as far as possible, the farthest cloud you can put your eyes on. And just what it does is it actually spreads your eyeballs. Like your eyeballs literally go closer when you look close at something and spread apart when you look at something that's very far away. And this movement of looking in and looking away and looking in and looking away works the muscles around the eyes, which actually stops people from needing glasses, because glasses did not exist for almost forever. Why do we suddenly all need them? Dentists didn't really exist for a really long time. Why do we suddenly go to all these dentists? They didn't really have a lot of emergency wards, emergency rooms. Now we got tons. What's the difference? Big difference is living indoors with things very close to us. It weakens our eyes. It weakens our constitution. It weakens our minds. And this was the biggest shocking takeaway for me was how realizing how much that was impacting me, and limiting my thoughts, limiting my energy. In being back here, realize like it's like I need to eat more food, even though I'm doing less. I need things to keep my, I get bored quicker. Even though I can see an infinite number of things here, I'd rather stare at the same ocean, and I can stare at it for longer. It's interesting, like simplifying nature just solved like so many things. So anyway, that's all my takeaways from what I did. Hey, wow, MJ. Give me some, sure. Let's share that. Because MJ knows this even more than I do, I'm sure. Guatemala, is it that you're from? Giving yourself the space to enjoy each bite of food, connecting with the colors and savoring all the flavors, allow me to feel how my body receives the nutrients, is influenced by the food, and also it opens my heart to infinite gratitude, all in the moment. So very much living in the moment also does bring us, like MJ, call her MJ, Maria Jose, is saying, nice to see you, by the way. Great photo. It's funny how much we're talking about like literally just like surrounding ourselves with nature, and your photo is literally like surrounding your head with nature. So this is an amount of like staying in the moment and savoring, let's say, the food and every bite and the smell. And yeah, that's a way of keeping our minds focused in the moment. Living into the moment became more of a sense of, Guatemala. Okay, we got that right. Lots of color. I remember because of the colors. So many colors. There is kind of a mindfulness practice that's involved when it comes to really eating these foods and tasting these flavors. For me, because I think a lot of my food isn't really full of flavor and everything. It's more of a Michelle thing. And I'm more of a like, put food in my mouth kind of guy. Wow, interesting. James making a note. Soft processed foods makes nasal passages shrink. Interesting. It makes teeth misalign when the face doesn't. Interesting. So, so the thing is that, like, I think MJ, you're from a culture, like anything that I know to be any form of like Central America, Latin America, whatever you want to call it, the spices, the flavors. Same with India. So much flavor, so much color, and I think that there is more kind of a natural, just you don't even have to try and pay attention to all of the flavor and all of the variety and all of the excitement or interest in what's happening, because it just has so much of it. And I think we've just look at my, like, these walls are white. I had to like put colored lights on just to even put some color in this room. And we add some there's some purple, everything's backwards on this. Holy crap, this is hard. It's back there. Purple lights on the ground and yellow lights there. I mean, otherwise, this is, even the thing I'm sitting against is white. And it's like, we're just so used to this kind of simplifying things down to simple colors, and it helps us to keep our minds more clear in small places. But when we're expanding out to living very much in an expanded way, I think we can handle way more color, way more flavor. And that makes us, how do I say it? It's more effortless to just be genuinely in the moment and just bite into some food and be like, holy crap, that tastes amazing. Like eating an actual papaya that came off of an actual tree ripe, not here where they're like green papayas and they're rock hard. They have no flavor. It tastes like water. So, it's almost like it has to be more of a mindful practice to even connect in with the flavor of food or the look of colors. Because here everything looks like it's more kind of, I don't know, simple. And there things are more tropical, like there's more variety, there's more colors. My macaw there and the color, this is Mexican, so there's lots of colors and rainbow. It's not focusing because it's locked to my eyes, by the way. So all these colors and whatever, I made this hat, but like this is more of what like I'm used to, these macaws and this macaw actually came to me in Costa Rica. This is based on the coloring. This would be a blue-green macaw. and it actually dropped the feather on my seat, completely surrounded by wind, people, all kinds, and literally this landed on my seat of my open scooter. It could have blown away, didn't have to stay there. Somebody could have picked it up, and nope, it sat on my scooter waiting for me. And that's how I got this feather, and that's how I got almost all of these feathers. So another one went in the hat, which is pretty special. There you go. This is my pura vida. This is a macaw, which were all like above my head. This is my macaw pura vida feather in my hat, my big hat collection that took, I think this has been 13. It's got to be 13 years of collecting on this hat. Anyway, any comments, any questions? Love the comments. Thank you so much, everybody, for, wow. Yeah. I wonder if mindfully, when you can't chew, digestion starts in them. Yeah. So I wonder if eating mindfully would change the digestion. Just for the record, the saliva is part of the digestive, like obviously breaking down to food with your chewing is part of it. But if you just suck on food, the saliva already starts to break down the food in a way that actually makes it easier to digest. I'm no medical professional, but I mean, that's something that I've learned. So just making a comment about the chewing, but would connecting in, yes. Thanks, MJ. Yeah. Love the hat. Everybody loves the hat. So thanks. Not a lot of people see it. Mindful eating, would that change? So technically speaking, they say, you can, go look this up for yourself in case I am wrong, but they say, scientists say that the mindful eating actually causes, I was actually taught this in yoga practice. So in my meditation training and in my yoga teacher training, there's a practice that came out of India where they, I was told that at the ashram in India, where my lineage I trained in, I didn't do this myself in India. We did it here in Canada, but they would they said they would hand out a bowl of corn, and they would sit out in the courtyard or the park, if you will, like, whatever, the green space outside of the ashram, the school. And they would have this little bowl of corn, and they would eat each piece of corn one at a time. And they would watch the people walking and just basically stare at the nature around them while they basically sucked on and moved the one piece of corn, each kernel. And they would eat each kernel one at a time. And it is said that because of the mindful eating, the body actually absorbs more nutrients out of that food than if you just eat it quickly. There is something in the body that there is a preparation in the mind that the flavors load into the brain, which then signal the body, the stomach, to actually produce digestive juices just because it's holding the one kernel of corn. And so digestion actually happens better because of the mindful eating. So just to reference my my training there, Georgia, I wonder if mindful eating would change digestion. Scientifically proven, yes, it would, but don't quote me. I'm not a medical professional. Love the hat. Thank you. And awesome hat. And macaw is one of my spirit animals. So I have some experience with macaws because years ago I actually volunteered at a parrot rescue in Hamilton, Ontario. I did that for a couple of years. And so I spent time with a variety of birds, including macaws. And every parrots in general as a spirit animal involve, usually if you kind of look it up, you're going to get a couple of things. You should probably find three things if you look up a macaw as a spirit animal. Number one is macaws are the loudest. They are, oh my God, loud. Okay. So, they are very large. They are considered one of the largest parrots, if not the largest parrots, actually. And they live some of the longest, up to 80 to 100 years. But they're really just big energy. They're loud. They're flamboyant. They make a big ruckus about things. And so part of the medicine of macaw is don't play small for the sake of others. Just be big. Be what you are. Okay. If you're big, be big. So that's macaw number one, is be loud, but not like loud in an aggressive way. Even though macaws are loud and aggressive, it's more about being like full of life. Okay. Number two, super Guatemalan, like Macaws represent color. So that same kind of vivacious, like passion for being very like open and expressive and full of color. Be full of color in the way that you express. Lots of laughter and lots of smiles. I mean, this is all very much MJ for, I know not everyone knows Maria Jose, but this is super her. And what's the third one? Play. So macaws also represent, if macaw comes into your life, it's a reminder that you need to play more. Be very playful. So macaws are very playful. Parrots in general, by the way, are very playful. And they're inquisitive. They like turning things upside down and sticking their heads in things and making sounds. I mean, it's pretty fun watching videos of parrots that will like literally stick their head inside a bucket just to caw in it because they like the sound of hearing their voice like echoing off the bucket. I mean, that's just what they do. They love playing. It's playful, it's fun, and that's very much a medicine of macaw. So that's why I got the feather. I don't have a problem being big, and I definitely don't have a problem being, like you saw my hat, being colorful, but I do forget to play, and I do take things too seriously. And this was kind of the big takeaway from the Pura Vida of Costa Rica, which was expand, be part of nature, don't overthink it. Things are way more simple and way less difficult than we make them out to be. We make them out to be more difficult because we spend too much time in small places where we're in our head. Thoughts are, generally speaking, very useless to you because they're cognitive thoughts. They're 10% of your mind's processing is cognitive thoughts. They're generally useless, okay? Better off to just relax, expand your mind, connect to nature, expand your surroundings. Don't spend a lot of time in tight places because it will relate to tight thinking, okay? Make use of your surroundings. Get outside as much as possible, or just stare out a window if you have to, if you can't go out. Even if you literally just put a picture, like look at how fast this happens. Boom. Just by showing that, it already starts to expand your mind. I am assuming that all of you have seen water, a lake, an ocean, whatever the case may be. Maybe you haven't seen an ocean, but you've seen probably some form of water that, because even Lake Ontario is large enough that you can't see the other side. But just the color, the sky, this is enough to start to expand your mind. So even if you just have to look at photos with some kind of, I don't know if I can port through a sound of like the ocean here, but I actually did record it, but I'm not going to get through that. So that's enough to start to expand your. So if you start feeling like you're too tight with your thoughts and whatever, just put a picture up on the screen with a video better. Hey, Andrea. Wow, we got the crew out tonight. How are you, Andrea? So going to the beach to meditate on the horizon tomorrow morning. Thank you for sharing your experience. It really is super difficult. I'm an experienced meditator. I have like 13 years of practice, and I'm an instructor. And it was hard. Wow, that I have to. My eyes just kept moving, just like dissolve. I talked about this actually 2 weeks ago when I was there, and I put up the photos to try and show that what happens is this, because you probably didn't see this last 2 weeks ago. This is what it looks like. I stare at the horizon line and ignore the waves. Do not look at the waves, just look at the horizon. Your brain will start to do this to the imagery. I took this series of photos for you. Look at the clouds. You can see they're gray. There's some texture in the clouds. But what happens is if you stare long enough, this is what happens. The sky gets brighter and brighter. This for real is exactly what I could see with my eyes. I was able to capture it with my camera until it just dissolves to white. That's how you know you are looking at something long enough that your eyes, your brain stops trying to register information with your eyes, and it literally goes white. Everything just like starts turning white. Your ears, once you just disconnect from trying to point out any sounds, will start to dissolve to kind of a kind of sensation until it just goes blank. Like you'll hear nothing. It'll be like white in your ears, white in your eyes. And eventually, if you do it long enough, you will lose sensation in your body. Like you'll have it, but you'll lose awareness of the sensation in your body, and it'll just like kind of like go limp, which is why we're supposed to practice yoga poses to be able to sit a certain way. But just get a chair that you can like literally like zone out in, and like you could fall asleep in without moving, and your body will just zone out of any sensation in the body. I give this mindfulness practice, by the way, to people that are in chronic pain. And your eyes will just go white, your ears will go white, your body will go white in the sense so that you're just not aware of the sensations. And at some point, if you do it long enough, which could be for some people days and for some people about a half hour, your mind will go white. So your thoughts will become objects that are floating by. And if you just don't stare at any of them, do not pay attention to any thought, just stare at the horizon. Just don't look away. I'm staring at a camera lens, but it works the same way. And at some point, the thoughts will just start to break down, and boop, boop, this starts to happen, and they become abstract or anomalous, and they float, and many will start to flood, and just don't look away. Don't pay attention to any of them. And eventually they'll fade to white, and you'll have a clear mind, a clear conscious, a clear body, a clear ears, clear, all of your senses will clear. And at some point, it'll create this sense that this was the beginning point. Every object becomes something that is also living in the moment, witnessing you. So if you don't attach to them, they don't attach to you, and everything just passes. As if you were sitting on a street looking at nothing, and people are coming by to be like, what's going on with this person? And they're like, I don't know. And they just walk away. It's kind of like that with your thoughts. They'll just walk away. And at some point, you will expand. This will happen. That's presence I just described. You will attune to basically all of nature, not just what's around you, literally like life. You will attune to life, and this genuine expansion will happen of omnipotence, where you suddenly become aware of like trillions of things all happening at once, because your mind's not boxed into any one thought. And then if you keep it up for long enough, you'll eventually become enlightened. You know, that thing that everyone's trying to get, it's really just this. And there's this like kind of like the sense that like, oh, wow, I don't really have to try so hard. It's really pretty simple. Geez, my thoughts are making it all way harder than it really is. And you become basically this equivalent to being a couch potato. Anyway, hope that helps. Yeah. Look at this. Challenge accept. Yes. Do it. Which beach are you going to? I have a macaw on my arm in my photo. There it is. That is a blue-green macaw, by the way. And that is the type of macaw that came from in Costa Rica. That's a blue-green. There it is in the photo for anybody that wants to see what that looks like. And of course, it's a different. Is this a blue-green? No, this one's a scarlet. So this is a scarlet macaw, which is why it's red and yellow on one side and blue on the other. Red and yellow. Whereas a blue-green macaw, which one are you? Are you a blue-green? No, this one is a blue-green. So it's literally blue. Where are you? Boop. There. Okay, it's kind of yellow, kind of green. And that's a blue-green macaw. No, Jen. No, you're doing great. So MJ and I were in Manitoulin Island, which is pretty awesome. Lake Ontario, also a bit beautiful. So I actually met MJ on Manitoulin Island. I was actually really excited to really connect with the nature there. And I felt like I was able to, in the waterfall, there's a waterfall that was near us. It was expansive and a sense of oneness, connection with everything. There you go. That's exactly what I described. Thanks for putting that out there. Social proof, MJ. Anyway, it's a thing, and it's really pretty amazing. So we'll see. Andrea is going to go to Lake Ontario. It works pretty much anywhere. It does work on Lake Ontario because it is far enough that you can see the horizon. And yeah, it's it doesn't work on the river in the forest because the objects are too close to set in this kind of a thing where the eyes move. So what I was saying earlier is that the scientists studied the importance of looking at things that are very far away, which is why I'm giving you the horizon meditation, because the eyes will slowly move apart when they relax, and it allows the muscles to relax. And that just doesn't happen if you're meditating on something that's close, because you can do it. Like, I don't know if I can actually show you what this looks like. So this is me looking at the center of the lens, and this is me looking at nothing. So center of the lens, I can't see myself on the camera. Like, I don't know what this looks like. I'll have to watch the replay after. Okay. Looking at the camera lens. The closer I get, the more cross-eyed I'll be. So I'm looking at the camera lens, and now I'm looking, hold on, it's really hard to do. So that's infinite distance, camera lens. Infinite distance, camera lens. I don't know what my eyes are doing. Somebody's going to have to tell me. But that's what you're trying to achieve at doing the infinite distance thing. Lake Simcoe. Yeah. Oh, Lake Simcoe's got some really nice water too to connect with. Well, super great energy having everybody here. I totally feel you guys, and it's really awesome. And you're all high vibe people, of course. So thank you so much for being here. And we kind of totally went over because we're chatting, but it's just fun, right? That's the whole point of this being live. It's really great to feel your energy and be live with you. And thank you so much. Most people do not watch the replay. So I am eventually going to get through all of these and just edit them down into little like chunk videos that people can kind of get something out of from watching the replay. But if you love chatting and connecting, definitely come to the lives every Wednesday at 6:30. I'm gonna call this one done because we could sit and chat all night, which would be a lot of fun. And but we're gonna say thank you so much. So, yeah, it is noticeable. Cool. Look at this. Thank you so much. Thank you. Cool. You have a twin sister, MJ? Now I want to see it. I'm sure I knew that at some point, but I'd love to see a photo. All right. Thank you. It's just, I'm really grateful that you're here. Like I said, live with me tonight. It's super great feeling all of your hearts and your energies. Much love to you all. You're all such awesome people. Thank you so much. Hey, big shiny vibes to you all. Big rainbow scarlet macaw vibes to you at all. All right. Blessings. Peace. It's the name of the lake. What? Twin Sisters Lake is the name of a lake? Does the lake have a twin sister? I mean, that's pretty confusing. There's got to be another lake somewhere that looks just like it. Thank you so much. I'm really happy that this helped. Thanks for coming and listening. So much, like I said, it's so much easier when you're doing it live because nobody really watches the replay. So please, whenever you can, show up. And I hope it did help you. Blessings to you all. It really helps me that you're all here. Thank you. Twin Sisters Lake apparently is in Marmora, which apparently has got a vibe. I've heard like Marmora, Ontario's got a vibe. I was told. I haven't been there yet. All right, let's call her done. We're going to put up this fancy little photo-y thing that reminds people that I'm here every week somehow. And apparently it's just not showing. And we'll play some music and then we'll call it done. All right. Where's my music? There's my music. There it is. All right. Cheers.